Hello everybody and welcome back to the penultimate race of the season. It is of course the Apex Online Racing PC GT3 Elite League on Project Cars. And it's round 11 out of 12 at Hockenheim. It's been such a long season and we might get a new champion today. But before we go further into that one, let's jump out onto the track in qualifying and introduce my co-commentator, as always, and it is Yorkie065. Hello.
Hello stream and everybody viewing it. Hopefully there was a lot of you. I can see a few people already talking in the chat. But yeah, the penultimate round of Season 5. This is very, very exciting. And like you said, and I've already alluded to, Fizzy, we may potentially have a new champion today.
And the champion that might be crowned today is the man you're watching on your screens right now. Bam, Kaki, of course, who's been leading the championship ever since around 4, if I remember correctly, is when he took it away from Kanuma, who was leading in the first few rounds. And yeah, basically the stipulation is that so he's leading the championship right now by 60 points with 2 rounds to go. So for the championship to not be won by Kaki today, Kanuma will need to outscore him by 25 points. And that's just to keep it alive. So it's a bit of a tricky task for Kanuma, who is now the only remaining challenger after Gronstra and Papan were dropped out of the running last time out. So yeah, I'll be working out a little bit later what exactly position Kaki would need to finish in if Kanuma were to win the race. But yeah, right now let's focus on the race at hand, which is Hockenheim. A very, very good track in my personal opinion. And the times on the board right now has Kaki on provisional pole, Gronstra 4 tenths behind, Papan only 1 further tenth behind, and then Klassen's in the mix as well. Kanuma is in P5 at this moment in time, Yorkie, and well, don't know about you, but Hockenheim, a track that I very much enjoy. What do you think about it?
I quite like it. It's a good circuit. A couple of good places to overtake. I'm not too sure whether I prefer it over the old Hockenheim, but there's definitely a lot more variation in terms of the corners. Obviously, turn 6, the old hairpin. That's quite a important corner to get right. It's got quite a nice long back straight, but it is also slightly curved as well, and it leads to some interesting overtaking opportunities / defensive maneuvers if you know a trick or two.
If you know what I mean, yeah. So
Yeah.
obviously a big long straight. Got a couple of straights on here, but of course the one down towards the hairpin is the prime position, as I said, for overtaking. Not only because the straight is so long, but of course also because the braking zone is so heavy, and the corner following it so slow. So yeah, I'm looking forward. We've been here quite a few times in the past. I feel like we at least 2 times, possibly 3 in the first 4 seasons we've been here. So it's one of the most used tracks in the GT3 leagues on AOR so far. And of course we're here another time this season. It seems to be a generally popular track as well. So yeah, just let's hope for some good racing action ahead. But of course we're halfway through qualifying. It's all about the lap times for now for these drivers. We've been watching Freda go around half this lap. He is currently sitting P6 in the table. Kanuma haven't moved himself up from P5, but I think he's only on an outlap at this moment in time. And Gronstra interestingly in the pits, but I'm sure that he'll be going back out again. Kaki, of course. Yeah, actually I think Gronstra has closed the gap to Kaki in terms of his time, only 1 tenth behind now.
Yep.
So looking competitive, but of course Kaki's taken so many pole positions this season, and he wouldn't be surprised if he can do it again. So let's just follow him around for a lap. I'm going to go on board with his front bumper, just so you can get a view of the track, which he did go pretty wide there at turn 1, I have to say. It's not really, obviously, yeah, I'm sure it's possible to gain time by going wide there, but of course the curb on the outside of turn 1, Yorkie, it's pretty big and surely will unsettle the cars quite a bit.
Yeah, it's a pretty tricky one to get right. If you straddle the curb or catch the wheel on it rather awkwardly, it can quite easily spit you off into the wall on the right hand side, so it's very much a risk versus reward as to how much speed you go in there. You either fully commit and hope that you get it right, or you play it a little bit safer which of course costs you a little bit of time. So it's going to be an interesting approach as to how people take that one. It's quite a tricky first corner as well at the start of the race. There's obviously 20-odd drivers trying to barrel down to the apex of that one and try and get through it cleanly. It's quite tight on the outside.
Yeah.
Or should I say on the exit, you kind of get pinched a little bit on the curb. So you probably see some people using the runoff to the left of that curb to try and basically avoid touching it, really.
Yeah, probably something I've done in the past as well. Obviously, I would never intentionally run wide at turn 1 there, but if you do accidentally do it, then of course, being on the left side of the curb is probably the better way to go. So we can see Kaki now about to cross the line for another flying lap. Can he improve? He can, by 1/10 up, so he's now on a 1:35.7, goes immediately back down to the pits and then back out again for one final run, you would assume. Papan's gone up to P2, yeah.
Second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. And
Almost 2 temps.
one thing I didn't actually really notice too well until I went onto the front bumper view with Kaki is that the sunset is out for this race. The in-game starting time for the race is 5 PM, I think, so it's not actually that late, but clearly the sunset feels like coming out already, and it was relatively blinding through a couple of those corners. I remember back in Season 1, all the way back, when we were racing in a massive sunset, and it was literally impossible to see some of the braking points, and I think drivers might struggle a little bit with a few of the corners here as well. And Papan, while I've been saying all this sunset talk, he's gone up to provisional pole! Papan beating Kaki's time of 1/10. So very, very impressive by Papan so far, who of course won the race last time at Monza.
Yep, so some good strong pace coming off the back of his win. It's good to see him still up at the sharp end of the field. I think possibly having the kid is put him in a whole world of good and kind of spurred and inspired him on. Something along those lines. But yeah, it's quite interesting that you touch on the sun being a little bit lower. I believe it's set to current date is the settings
It should
that
be,
we run?
yeah.
Yeah, so we're kind of starting head towards autumn time, or shall I say it is autumn time now in the year around Europe, so I guess it would be getting lower at this earliest stage of 5 o'clock, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the drivers handle that one. And also
it does seem a tiny bit early for me still, in my head, for it to be sunset at 5 PM at this time of year, but that's probably because I'm still in summer mode, personally. But as we're now seeing, Gronstra going past the car that's wiggling all over the place out of turn 3, I guess that would be. Gronstra crossed the line recently. He did not improve on his position though. Let's see if there's anyone
User in your channel
oh my
timed out.
goodness me. Okay, so York is timed out. I really hope that he can get back in the session before the race, because otherwise I'll be commentating on my own again, which isn't particularly fun. Well, compared to commentating with another person anyway. So fingers crossed on that one. Obviously we have a warm-up session between quali and race, which hopefully will be enough for him to get back in. Fingers crossed on that one. Let's see. I think Kaki's in the final sector, so he'll be across the line soon. This would be potentially his final go. He would still have time to go for another lap after this one if he feels the need for it, but he needs 1/10 in terms of an improvement to retake provisional pole from Papand. So let's see what he can do even, and he does retake it. Oh wow, that's going to be close. Oh my goodness me, Kaki's retaking provisional pole by 1,000th of a second over Papand. That is unbelievable. Yorkie, are you back?
yep,
Get your ass back in this lobby. I'm not commentating solo again.
I'm working on it, don't worry.
Alright, good. Yeah, we got a minute and a half left of the qualifying session, and as you probably heard as you just rejoined me there, Yoki, Kaki just retook provisional pole by a very, very small margin.
Only 1,000th of a second,
Yes,
I heard you say.
Yes. So, and TonyR is crossing the line just as I jump on with him. Does not go higher than the P8 he was already in, unfortunately, though. Now we're into the time in the session where people starting new laps now will not have any time to finish them. So we need to try and find people who are already on their final laps. Let's see, is Papand out? No, Papand's a garage. So Kaki's still going actually. He's still trying to improve, but having provisional pole. Unfortunately, Papan is not going to be able to challenge it because he's back in the garage. Gronstra might though. Gets super. He actually touches the wall there going into the stadium section. So hopefully for him that didn't slow him down. But let's follow Gronstra. That would probably be the closest challenger to Kaki, I would say, at this point. He needs to find a tenth and a half or so on his previous lap time in order to get that provisional pole. Let's see, as he now crosses the line with only 20 seconds to go in the session, and he does not improve. He stays P3, does Perry Gronstra. So no improvement for him on that lap. Kanuma has moved himself up to P4 since we last checked on him. He will be the final man, I guess, to cross the line then, and he will indeed. So let's see, can he go up from P4? Kaki's only challenger so far left in the season, and no, he cannot, so he stays P4. Kaki, though, is taking provisional pole by the smallest of possible margins over Papan, and then Perry Gronstra joins Kanuma on the second row. Klaasen's there with Klobutski, who makes a return, and then Rhaegar, TonyR, and Martin van der Bent, and Brownski rounding up the top 10. And then you can see the rest of the drivers forming themselves down the grid. We have 23 drivers taking part today. 4 drivers, unfortunately, not able to attend. So that was qualifying. But now we are going to jump into the race. Here's the grid for around 11 out of 12 of the AOR PC GT3 Elite League at Hockenheim. And the lights are out, and we are not moving at all, apart from Tipple rolling ever so slightly forward, because, as always, there's a manual rolling start. So Yorkie, let's jump up into the spectator box. I can hear the cars moving, but I'm just trying to find a good camera, and then I'll try to find a good car, which would be Kaki, as he leads the grid away, ahead of Papand, who we out-qualified by 1,000th of a second. And of course now, it'll be one lap of formation driving, and then towards the end of it lining themselves into 2x2 formation for the start. And I'm just hoping, obviously last time in Monza we had some incredible fighting for the win. I'm really hoping we see something like that today.
Yep, that should hopefully come along this circuit as well. Actually lends itself quite well to battling, as like we said, or touched on earlier, there's a good couple of places where you can overtake. You've got that long back straight. There's various different sections to this circuit that play into the strengths and weaknesses of the various different cars that we have here, and the turbo cars don't really have much of an advantage either, as I think the altitude is relatively normal. Yeah, I was just trying to think of a word, like, would it be stable or normal? I mean, there's no undulations in the circuit, so
yeah, it's a pretty flat track anyway. You'd assume that it's not too far above yeah.
Indeed. Watching the drivers come through, they'll be coming up towards the formation point fairly soon. It's just before the stadium section, so I imagine a number of guys will probably get themselves lined up and into that fairly quickly. At the moment, Kaki's on the wrong side of the circuit. There we go. He moves over now. So Kaki should have the inside line into turn 1. Papand on the outside, and then obviously Gronstra behind Kaki. And the guys will form up in a 2x2 formation, and they will maintain that, or at least try to, through to an acceleration zone, which is not too far out of the last corner, is where it starts, and the acceleration zone finishes on the actual start-finish line itself. And at any point in that zone, the leader is allowed to put his foot down to signify the start of the race. However, he's not allowed to fake or jump that start. So Kaki is in control, and at the moment they should be trundling along at 50 miles per hour, 80 kph.
Yeah, so coming around the final corner now. Papan looked very eager through the stadium section. He was kind of ahead of Kaki at one point, but now of course it'll be up to Kaki to decide when to put the foot down. And there's a car going into the pits back there for some reason.
And there's Gibbs.
Gibbs going into the pits already, so he's had some problems in the formation lap. But here we go, down towards turn 1. Hopefully they can keep it clean. Gronstra has gone past Papand up to second place. And Kaki's gone away cleanly out in front. Looked like quite a few side-by-sides back there, but the camera really isn't helping at the moment. Top 3 out and away, but Kanuma was side-by-side on the outside into turn 2 here with the BMW Z4. That would be Klawutski trying to get ahead of Kanuma. So Kanuma's dropped 2 positions then from his P4 starting spot. Not a good start for the championship challenger.
No, he would have been on the outside for turn 1, and that obviously would have made it very difficult. He probably ended up running out wide. He's now actually coming under pressure from TonyR as well, who had a slightly better run coming out of turns 2, 3 and 4 than Kanuma did, but wasn't able to do anything in the hairpin here. There's
a huge hit towards the back of the field. Everyone trying to just like 4 wide going through the hairpin back there.
Bentley, yep, the big Bentley of, I guess, Ycoms involved in that. It was Ycoms. He was the one who was looking relatively slow. Got a Z4 at the back there of Hideaki, and also Silver Arrow picking up the pieces. I'm not entirely sure what actually happened to Gibbs, but Dinder's down in 19th. Where did Dinder start?
I'm not quite sure. I don't think he was in the top 10. But
interesting. He seems very far down compared to where he usually is, so he's out of position there, it would seem. And for a second I thought I got a little bit surprised to see a Z4 in front of the roof of Papan, but I remember seeing Perry Grunstruck go up the inside of Papan into turn 1 on the previous lap.
Yep. So, top 3 already starting to build a little bit of... Oh, top 4 even actually, because Claessen's hanging on to the back of Papan just about. And Gronstra is keeping up with Kaki on the first lap there, actually potentially gaining a little bit coming down towards the hairpin. Interesting to see if he will try to have a go. He's moving to the inside, but just too far back. He's braking a lot later, though. I think he's outbraked himself there, unless it was intentional to get a cutback and a better exit. He's gone very wide, so is Papan back there. Claessen's managed to stay on the track. As we have McLaren back there. Did you see who that was?
That was a wiggle from TonyR, just as he was getting on the power. Yeah, the rear end of the car slipped to the right, and I think he's lost no, Kanuma's gained a position back on Klawutski.
Alright.
Kanuma's back up into 5th.
Good to know. I would go back there, because it seems very action-packed down in the midfield, but I'm just scared to jump away from the battle for the lead right now, just because of how much pressure Gronstra is managing to pile on Kaki in this early stage of the race, and you never know. Suddenly, something might just happen. And through this final stadium section as well, you would think that a BMW Z4, who is usually good in the kind of mid-high-speed corners, would have an advantage, unless, of course, Kaki has managed to set up that McLaren beautifully, like he might well have. So, starting the 3rd lap of the race, Kaki still holding station ahead of Gronstra, but the two showing a very, very similar pace so far. Papan dropping off maybe ever so slightly, but of course he's still very much still in the mix there. Maybe he's even intentionally just taking it a bit easy just to, I don't know, tire saving in dirty areas. Is that something you really think about in these cars?
Possibly a little bit around the circuit. I remember season 3 when we raced here. There was a pit stop mid-race, although as a change of conditions that was why. But Gronstra is certainly looking very, very threatening on Kaki at the moment as he goes to make the lunge down the inside, outbrakes himself, goes a little bit deep. Kaki will retake the position, switching back underneath him. Perry Gronstra getting away with that for the moment and slotting him back behind Kaki there. Kaki saw Gronstra coming and gave him plenty of room. So that was a little bit fortunate there for both drivers.
Yeah. Kaki, good racecraft to see him coming, you'd have to say. And of course, I guess you can't really fault Gronstra for trying either. He's fighting for the race win after all. Only 2 races to go in the season. He's out of the championship, so it's all about race wins when you're in this position for him. But of course he'll need to find a better way if he wants to make the move stick on Kaki, who's such an experienced driver as well. So the top 3 looking good. Claessen's still just trying his best to hang on. Kanuma now in some clear air, trying to close the gap as well. TonyR in 6th ahead of Klawutski now. Brownski in 8th. Raygor in 9th, and Martin van der Bent in the last top 10 position. It's been pointed out that Tipple has made up 9 positions, I think, from his starting place.
He's 13th.
Yep.
It was 10 earlier, I saw. So he may have
Yeah,
lost the place.
so someone in the
somewhere
chat
along the
said it was 10, but I think on the well, at least on the overlay on the stream, it says 9 at the moment.
line. Yes, his previous lap was 2 seconds slower than Andrex is in front of him, so he may have had a mistake somewhere along the line. I'm not entirely sure what the gap is between those two, but it looks roughly round about 2 seconds, and then behind him he's got his teammate of Blue Rat, Predators in 14th, and Centro up in 15th, and Dangerous Janetta rounding out the top 16 for the moment.
Yep. So we thought that Dangerous Janetta managed to score some points back at Bathurst, but actually he didn't, because Papand, who disconnected on the last lap back then, he actually did get awarded points because he scored, or completed more of the race than some of the guys that were lapped, including Dangerous Janetta. So I don't think Janetta scored points for quite a while, actually. Let me just check quickly. Yeah, he's not scored a point since round 3. So be good for him if he managed to hold on to that 16th place, which is of course the final points position on offer here today.
One's just looking very, very close to the back of Kaki. Very, very close. Coming out that final turn.
Close. Turn 1 though isn't really a great place to overtake. It's not much of a braking zone here, and he backs out of it. Probably a wise move. You really want to be close coming out of turn 2 and 3, so that you can have a run down towards hairpin again, and hopefully for Gronstra, if you were to try that, to be a little bit closer. Ooh. Not that close though. That's it seemed like a contact was about to occur as they went out of the camera picture there. But I can't see any damage on the front of Gronstra, so I think they managed to avoid that one. But now we're going to have side-by-side drag fest down towards the hairpin. And of course, Gronstra did have the better run out of turn 3. Can he get later on the brakes as well? Or will Kaki try to hold it on the inside? He will indeed try. And Papans made contact with Gronstra on the outside of the corner as well, which means Kaki's been allowed to keep hold of that and even maybe extend the gap ever so slightly towards what it was before. I don't know if Gronstra tried to be a bit careful there with how early he brakes, or Papan might have just misjudged his point a little bit behind him, but either way, not ideal for those two drivers, and Kaki retains the lead.
I think it might have been a combination of those two, probably reading that Gronstra was wanting to do a little bit of a switchback on Kaki, knowing that Kaki would have the tighter run through the hairpin, which would have opened up the exit for him, and hopefully allowed to retain the position, but doing so, I think Papand braked a little bit later, seeing an opportunity to try and get closer to this fight for the first position, and obviously bumped the rear of the Z4 of Gronstra. But it looked like Kaki was kind of half giving up the position initially to Gronstra. He knows that his only rival for the rest of this championship is Kanuma. There's no real point in risking a fight with Gronstra, and it'd probably be better almost just to let him go past and go through. Obviously it'd be great to win the race, but yeah, championship wise it'll be the smarter move out of the two.
Yeah, Kaki really doesn't need to risk anything today. He just needs to not fall I don't know, like more than 10 positions behind Kanuma, and he's got it in the bag basically. And of course Kanuma right now not looking too good in terms of the race. He's not too far behind as Gronstra again goes super deep at the hairpin. He has again misjudged that braking point. Hasn't lost too much time, but it's certainly not going to help his pressure on the car. You can see Kanuma there in P5 at the moment, still within visual distance of his championship, well, the man he needs to beat basically. But of course, when you're already like 5 seconds behind Kaki at this stage of the race, and you know you need to beat him by many positions to keep it alive, I don't think he's not going to be too optimistic at this moment in time.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be tough. What would be the points that, should I say, where would Kaki finish if Kanuma got second in this race?
That's something we can try to work out, of course. If Kaki got second, he would have 32 points. And of course, with the Kanuma needing to score 26 more than him. Well, what you mean if Kanuma finished second?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he would score 32 points. And then Kaki would need... Pretty sure he then would need 12 or lower? I think.
Okay. Okay,
So,
just thinking of like the people who are ahead of him in terms of pace. Let's just have a quick look at his lap times. He's actually slower than everybody in front of him, but I was just thinking if Gronstra, who certainly seems to be the fastest driver out of the top 5 at the moment, goes ahead and takes the win for this race, and Kanuma does manage to work his way past Claessens and also Papan in front of him, and something does happen to Kaki.
yeah.
And yeah, I was just thinking what would be
Ooh.
the title situation in that
Oh,
sense.
oh,
Yeah,
as
I'm seeing it too.
I thought we might have an orthodox move there into the stadium section, but again, Gronstra backs out of it. Also not a corner you tend to see too much overtaking on unless you get an almighty run out of the previous corner, which Gronstra nearly did, but just not enough on that occasion. Of course, it's not in the championship only about the title. All the other drivers are fighting for points and positions as well, of course, even though the title is the most luxurious position to be in, of course. But Gronstra and Papant are close in the championship in the battle for third overall.
Yep.
Only 7 points between those. Advantage Gronstra going into this race. And of course, at the moment, Gronstra would keep that on the fact that he's ahead of Papant on the track. But you never know, something could happen that changes that back in Papant's favor. And of course, 7 points is not that much. It's only 2-3 positions there. So something to keep an eye on as well as we move along.
Definitely. Also the Constructors' Championship as well. Clean Racing Group. Obviously, only 36 points behind We the Flintstones Racing. Gronstra can get a decent haul of points here, and Claessens can finish in 4th, where he currently is at the moment. They'll definitely be in with a good haul of points from that. And actually seeing in the background, it actually looked like Kanuma had closed up to the back of Claessens, potentially. Yes, they have. It's about the same sort of distance between, actually a little bit more than Kaki and Gronstra, but still very close between those two. Kanuma has managed to close up onto the back of Claessens somewhere along the line, possibly Claessens making a mistake somewhere on that previous lap.
My brain is not capable of working out this fast, the team championship stipulations, but of course at the moment Clean Racing Group running second in the team championship have 3 drivers all in the points right now, but of course only the top 2 score points per race, so at the moment it will be the points for 2nd and 4th, with that being the position that Gronstra and Claessens are in. Whereas Kaki at the moment only scoring for the win, which isn't exactly only, but Dinda earning out of the points at the moment as Kaki's teammate, I think. Guess Dinda even dropped out of the lobby because I can't see him.
I can't see him either. That's what I was just looking at, and yeah, it looks like Dinda has unfortunately gone somewhere along the line. So Kaki is the only driver racing in this race for We the Flintstones Racing. Actually, just watching Claessens at the moment, as Kanuma's probably got the straight line speed over the Z4 coming down the back straight, but not close enough this time round to do anything with it.
Yep, so I think as it stands, Kaki's team would win the team championship, but only by 10 points or so. So if Gronstra was to pass Kaki, and Claessens was to pass Papand, then possibly it could change around, but we'll get back to that one. Of course, there's still a race to go after this as well, to sort that one out. And yes, Yorkie, Gronstra is still very much at the back of Kaki.
Yes, it's very, very close. He certainly seems to be pushing the limits of the track as well. As a couple of times that I've seen him go outside those white lines, so he just needs to be careful of that. Time round looked a little bit better. If anything, it looked like Kaki was beyond the white lines. But hopefully these guys can clean themselves up a little bit and stay within those white lines for the remainder of this race. Big ask when you're pushing really, really hard, but it is the AOR rules.
Indeed.
Just coming now onto the back straight.
So is Gronstra going to be close enough? No, I wasn't really going to say anything particularly awesome, but Grunter is definitely catching in the slipstream. He's going to have another lunge down the inside. No, once again, he's not quite able to pull it off. This time he didn't go too deep though, so he's still very much on the back of Kaki coming out of the hairpin this time. And then
might make a move here into
yeah,
turn 8.
this king kind of avoids people from going side by side though. It's very tricky to go side by side down towards his corner just because I kink just before it. But Grunter, even though he's not quite able to get alongside of them, he's very much almost rubbing the rear wing of Kaki around the track and following him super closely around the stadium section as well. Really, really impressive by Kaki as well to keep up with this pressure, and he actually goes for it there. Kaki may be caught up in. He did well to see him coming there, and no contact between the cars. So somehow there in the stadium section, and Kaki manages to keep the momentum on the outside of that banked corner to keep the position. Whew. I think Grunter tried to surprise him there, but Kaki did so well to see him coming and stays ahead still.
Yep. Grunster got caught up on the curb on the inside, and it looked a little bit awkward the way that he was straddling that. There is quite a bit of heavy camber on that corner, and kind of riding that curb on the inside can unsettle the car a little bit, especially when he's trying to jump back onto the power. Also, I think Kaki gave him a little bit of a squeeze on the inside. It was very, very tight, but good driving by both drivers to avoid making contact. Kaki holding the lead for the moment, and that may cost them a little bit of time with allowing Papan to maybe gain a tenth or two, but judging by the lap times, actually he did. He gained 3 tenths on Kaki on the previous lap, probably because of the little side-by-side there through that stadium section.
Yeah, worth pointing out that Kanuma has managed to pass Klaassen now for the P4 in the race. We are potentially getting another pass now as well for 9th with Rhaegar under pressure from Andrex, but Rhaegar much later on the brakes. He's gone way off the apex though, and he's gone off the track. Can Andrex get on the power? Good enough? No, he cannot, so Andrex stays behind on that one. Behind the rough of Rhaegar for now at least. Just going to follow this just about. If it'd be nice if you can keep an eye on the lead battle here, just in case something happens there.
I want to watch this. I'm watching this too.
Alright, well, Rhaegar doing well to defend so far. I did also see in the chat earlier that someone was asking about Sula, of course the new driver that we got into the league 2 rounds ago. He is one of the drivers missing.
Yeah, Rhaegar's gonna run wide, coming into the stadium section and bounced over the curb, got caught up in the gravel a little bit as well, and that's allowed Andrex to slip through. Yeah,
I was back checking on the leaders again when that happened, but I can very much visualize it. I don't think we really need to see that, because anyone who's driven this track now knows how easy it is to run wide going into the stadium section, and if you run wide there, you'll have a wheel in the gravel. It slows you down a lot, and that is what happened to Rhaegar then. So, unfortunate for him, but still in the top 10 at least. Andrex's next target will be Martin van der Bent, running up in 8th at the moment. Klawutski now not too far behind TonyR, but I think Tony has been showing the better pace in recent laps. Kanuma also pulling a very small gap on Klaassen after passing him. And Kaki not quite as much under pressure from Grunster now. He's getting a few laps off, I think, in terms of the pressure, which I'm sure he'll be relatively pleased with.
A lot of stuff has been happening in the midfield that we have missed.
Let's try to figure that out then.
Tipple has dropped down to 18th from his 13th place. Dangerous Janetta has dropped down to 19th from his previous 16th.
Oh dear, times 2.
Brownski has dropped down to 16th after starting in 10th in the race. I mean, I wasn't entirely sure where he was a couple of laps in, but he's gone and lost. Like he always does. Yes. But that's going to cost him 6 places. Perhaps you should focus on the racing a little bit more. Yes. Jellyfish has gained a load of places, and so has Centro. Centro is up into 13th, Jellyfish now 14th, and these two are pretty close together as well. But judging by the distance that Tipple was when I checked on him about 30 seconds ago, I think he may have made a pit stop somewhere along the line.
Interesting.
That's all I could really...
Yeah, he's quite far behind Hideaki, isn't he?
Hmm.
That's the next man up the road. So this is an early time to make a pit stop though, but maybe he had some damage, or maybe he's trying to pull a major undercut tactic here with the tires. I'm not quite sure. Speaking of the tires though, are we expecting pit stops here? Because of course,
No idea.
no idea.
Your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. As usual, we're gonna have to wait and see on that one when we get kind of close to the halfway point of the race, whether drivers start coming in. We've seen quite a few races in the past where some drivers try to stick it out on the same tires until the end of the race, try to nurse them and avoid that extra time spent in the pit lane. And then you have others going for one pit stop, get those fresh tires on so they can push fully all race through. It's be interesting to see whether strategy is something that will affect, and something we haven't even touched on, Yorkie. Probably because we shouldn't be trying to build hype for this like we have done unsuccessfully in the 2 times we've had this before. We actually have a weather slot for the second half of this race, which is random.
It's gonna stay clear.
Yeah, well,
It's not gonna change.
it's annoying. It usually does that. We have had a random weather slot twice before in the league. One in Season 4 and one earlier this season in Season 5. Maybe even in the season opener, if I remember correctly. Yeah, both of those occasions it started dry and it stayed dried through the random weather slot, so nothing really exciting happened. I'm hoping that suddenly we get a massive rainstorm here in the second half of the race, but given what's happened the last 2 times, I'm not gonna be expecting it, but it would be funny if it happened.
That would be really interesting if it did happen. My doubts are that it will happen. I imagine it will stay dry, but the weather is synced to race, so it won't really change until the midway point. So too early to really try and look to the sky as I hear an almighty crash.
I heard that as I was watching the leaders. Not quite sure. I'm pretty sure none of those two crashed into anything.
Brownski's teleported back to the pits. Should I say Brownski is back in the pits. That was probably it.
Prepared
Silver
for
Arrow
Brownski in the chat in a second.
Silver Arrow has a ton of damage to the back of his car as well.
And Gibbs is now in the chat, so he has had an overheated computer apparently. I don't know how long Gibbs has been in the chat. Obviously, he pitted after this information lap all the way back at the start of the race. Maybe he already had some problems back then.
Ooh, Maisie having an almighty run down the inside. I believe this is Rhaegar.
Oh,
Taking a position up into the stadium section as well. Now actually going defensive, getting pretty close between the two, but good driving there by Rhaegar to recognise what Maisie was doing and get on the brakes early enough to avoid making contact. For the moment, Maisie slopped himself up into the top 10. It's amazing what you catch when you just kind of trundle on and flick through the field.
Yeah, good to have that. That's why it's good to have 2 drivers. Well, I guess we're theoretically drivers in a sense, just not right now. In the commentary box, so that's more eyes on the track. I was watching Grunster get very close again to Kaki through turn 1, and now again at the exit of the hairpin, but I think he had to lift there, otherwise he would have just driven into the back of Kaki on the exit. And you can see Papan just in the background. He's not too far off these top 2 on pace, but just a little bit too slow to keep up at the moment. Oh my goodness me! Has he tried that again?
Turn 8, surely. Yeah, Grunster does give up the position there to Kaki. I'm not entirely sure what happened.
He must have just gone up the inside. Or tried an audacious move.
I think Grunster probably just, braked way too late and just, went straight up the inside of Kaki. I think Kaki may have just about seen it coming at the very last second and straightened up a little bit. So the contact between the two wasn't as big, but there's still fairly significant contact. Hopefully neither of them have damage, but of course this has brought Papand back up in towards these top 2 positions.
Yeah, very much so. Of course, Grunster didn't gain anything from that at all. Of course, lifted off after it happened to make sure Kaki was able to stay ahead, and even has dropped some time on him, maybe around a second behind now. And of course, that has slowed both of the top 2 down, particularly Grunster, and as you mentioned, Papan now closer to them. So the gap from Grunster up to Kaki is probably now pretty much the same as what is down from him to Papand. Last week at Monza, we had an almighty 3-way scrap for the win when Papan was the man who held on for the lead all a race long, holding on from so much pressure. At the moment, it's Kaki doing the same. Here today, Grunster has tried several attacks. Neither of them has paid off at the moment, and Papan going super wide. There, managed to just keep it on the track though, but that's not going to help his lap time. Is it safe now, Yorkie, do you think, to go stroll down the field a bit? Just to spread out just ever so slightly.
It has spread out a fair bit. To be honest, I'm just having a quick look through. Drivers, BMWs, Andrax and Maisie running reasonably close together. Running line astern in their rather nice looking BMW M3. They've dropped Raycore as well, but Blue Rat is very much under pressure from Centro, and I believe that'll be Jellyfish.
Yep.
And also Silver Arrow.
No,
although I'm guessing Silver Arrow would have lapped down, would have pitted. But Jellyfish is certainly looking to try and get past Centro at some point relatively soon, but it's not going to be there into turn 8, nor will it be into 9 or 10, which they are now going through.
Another driver out of the race, Tipple, has dropped from the lobby as well. He's not dropped from the lobby quite, but he's dropped back to the... Actually, he's been disqualified, it says.
Huh?
Tipple's been disqualified, apparently. As Jellyfish, has he had a cut track penalty there, possibly? Because it's just lifted off completely through the stadium section, and then Silver Arrow just runs out off the track to let them lap him.
Yeah, Freddie got pretty sideways there, coming up the exit of the hairpin too. That's quite a nice little slide that he caught.
Yep, at the moment Hideaki, the man holding on to the final point position, then just Janette out of it now. Ycoms a disappointing race from him after finishing on the podium at Bathurst. He's had 2 disappointing races after that. The Arrow lapped, as you say, and he's the last man on the track right and now.
Quite a bit of damage to the front of his car as well.
Yep.
Oh, come on.
So
we
have 19 drivers remaining from the 23 that started.
Oh, that was a horrible time to stop talking just as I was yawning. Sorry, I'm quite tired, so I was just like, there was no response, there was just a huge delay.
That's fine.
But yeah, just jump back up to the front top 3 drivers. It looks like, wow, Gronstra struggling a little bit with the car. Karki has kind of dropped Gronstra and pulled a little bit of a gap, and Papan has closed up. Don't know if the gap between Karki and Papan's actually changed at all. It looks about the same. It just looks like that Gronstra's gone backwards.
Half a second.
Yeah, between the two. And I did see him go quite sideways there into the penultimate turn and got very, very deep there into turn 2. Sent him out well out wide, and now Papan's right underneath the rear wing. Surely Papan is going to have a pretty decent run coming out of here if he doesn't go too wide off the curb.
Very wide there, but he's kept it off the grass at least, which means that he was probably able to keep his foot down. And now does the Rough have enough power in the engine? And does Papan want to challenge him harder and possibly risk Karki pulling away even more? Or does Papan just realize that he doesn't have the pace to catch Karki anyway and just thinks that P2 might be the best that he can do? It didn't quite go for it on the hairpin, so Gronstra hangs on for now.
This is the battle for P3 in the championship, remember?
Oh, yeah,
obviously he can't catch Karki, but his main rival was Perry Gronstra. And how many points do you say he was behind?
These guys are 7 points apart in the championship. Gronstra has 7 points more. So it would be very helpful for Papan going into the final race to close that to 4 then if he manages to pass Gronstra.
Yeah. So obviously Papan will be very, very keen to try and do that. Felt he could have stuck in the slipstream a little bit longer going down the back straight. That would have helped him coming in towards the hairpin. But the very good brakes of the Z4 obviously helping Gronstra there. And Papan has actually dived into the pit lane. We are pretty much halfway through the race as well. Just over, in fact. So maybe there will be some pit stops this race.
Yeah, I guess there will be then for new tyres on these cars. Kanoom is in the pits back there. TonyR carries on. He's going to take a podium position for now. Maybe even for a while, depending on whether he's going to go for the one-stop strategy or whether he's going to try to hang it out there. And I'm also seeing in the chat that Claessen's had a moment. Claessen's was running in P4 or P5 even. P5 even, yeah. But he's had a moment and he's down in 14th place. Might have spun it.
He had a moment, or is that he's been in the
Bransky
pits?
reckoned that he has had a spin. But you never, well, Unless that is confirmed from Brownski, that might well have been a pit stop as well.
No, he's had a pit stop. He's come right out behind
Yeah,
Kanuma, so that's pretty much bang on then. So yeah, we're probably going to see a load of pit stops in this race. The number will be from everybody, but that'll be interesting to see. I was going to say, what was I going to say? Martin van der Bent up into 5th place is good. He's having a pretty good, strong performance in his Aston Martin. The Aston Martin should do well around this circuit, and he is not too far behind Lewicki in the Z4, less than a second, or around about a second, shall we say, up in front of him.
Yeah, so obviously quite a few drivers gaining positions at the moment as a result of some of the top guys having gone into the pit lane. I think
Gronstra.
And Gronstra's pitted as well, yeah.
Yep.
Karki's staying out though, for the moment. TonyR staying out, Slawutski staying out, Martin van der Bent staying out. What will Andrex and Maisie, the two BMW M3s, do? Andrex goes into the pits, Maisie stays out, so possibly some split strategies from that team. Trying to see how that works out. Papan now, of course, who is the first man on track that has pitted. Would be very interesting to see where he comes out relative to Gronstra here. Let's see.
That is a very, very good point.
Gronstra's on the exit. Papan's coming around turn 1. Let's see, Gronstra's got the position.
Only got track position, that's for sure.
Yeah, pretty much the same gap as he was, I think. But yeah, Gronstra stays ahead in terms of that particular battle.
I think Gronstra may have actually pulled out a little bit over Papan in and around that phase of pit stops there. Trying to see. And lap times don't really show anything. They do, because obviously the pit stops. But Papan will have the slight advantage for this one lap where Papan's tyres are in, I guess, a slightly better pressure range than what Gronstra's will. But obviously Gronstra's is on the fresher rubber. Once he gets those pressures up into a better, more optimal, or closer to optimal window, the pace should start coming from those, and we should probably check to see where Karki is. He's still going round.
And so is TonyR. Those two McLarens trying to hang it out there. So is Slawutski and Martin van der Bent still. So I have a feeling, Yoki, that the top 4 here at least are trying the zero stop strategy here, which is going to be very interesting to see whether they can pull it off, how far down the field they will be dropping relative to where they are now. TonyR and Slawutski currently running on the podium positions, of course. Martin van der Bent very close to it. But of course then you have Gronstra and Papan in 5th and 6th, who will be charging them down on the fresh tyres. I think they're about... how far? 10 seconds, possibly, from Gronstra. That's basically the whole straight down towards the hairpin is the gap between.
It's quite big, probably about 15 odd seconds or so. Just saw Jellyfish have a slight moment going through turn 1,
yeah. and he hasn't pitted, of course.
No, he hasn't. He's got Kanuma coming up behind him, relatively close, and like you were saying earlier, it will be interesting to see how the other guys in front in 1st, 2nd, 3rd and 4th will play out their strategy for the remainder of this race. Kanuma's actually looking pretty close to the back of Jellyfish. Obviously on the fresher rubber, he's certainly going to have the advantage here between those two drivers. And also Claessen's is there right up on the back of Kanuma now as well, and actually looking a little bit quicker than Kanuma was coming out of turn 10 there, coming down towards the entry to the stadium section, turn 11. Not quite close enough to send the move up the inside, but a little 3-way scrap here going on for 7th place.
Yeah, Jellyfish holding those two guys up a little bit on his worn tyres, and Kanuma and Klaassen will be trying to get past as soon as possible, and Klaassen's though maybe trying to capitalize on Kanuma being held up a little bit, giving him a look in the mirror. Why are you going for a move there, side by side through turn 1? Oh my god, they managed to keep it clean as well. But Clausen just didn't manage to keep the speed on the apex there. Obviously, he had to take a slower apex speed just to manage to leave Kanuma enough room on the outside of the corner to not force him onto that massive curb there. And he's done it well, but of course it hasn't given him the position, so Kanuma stays ahead. And that has even given Jellyfish a bit of breathing space. Because with these guys battling each other behind him, that's going to mean that Jellyfish might be able to hold on for a bit longer or not. Kanuma up the inside into the hairpin. Jellyfish forced to leave him room. They've done it well, and Kanuma with the fresher tires surely will be able to get better on the throttle. And has now the inside for the kink. He's going to have the outside though for the next corner if Jellyfish can hold on, but he cannot. He slots back in between the two drivers. And now Clausen will be trying to follow through as soon as possible, and he has put his nose up the inside. But Jellyfish doing well to see him coming and not lose too much speed, so Jellyfish is going to keep Clausen frustrated then for the end of this lap, unless Clausen's going to have to try here, and it does indeed. Very opportunistic from Clausen, up inside on the corner going into the stadium section. Very fast one as well, and that is what Clausen's needed if he wants to have a chance at getting back at Kanuma, because he couldn't have afforded Kanuma to run away with it, but now they might just be battling more throughout this race.
Yep, that's a very good move there by Clausen's. Kind of frightened Jellyfish a little bit with the dive bomb from quite far back, kind of forcing Jellyfish to take a little bit of avoiding action, but that actually brought Clausen's up closer onto the back and basically got him in a position where he could make that move. Very good driving by both to avoid any contact there, and obviously Kanuma's move was very nice and clean as well. So like I say, very opportunistic by Clausen's, trying to gain the positions as quickly as possible. Still, Gronstra is not too far ahead of Papan, just over a second. That looks in and around that sort of distance, and it still looks like Martin van der Bent, Klawitsky, TonyR and Kaki are retaining the positions that they were previously in, as they are still yet to make a pit stop, and Kaki actually putting a lap down on Ycoms.
Yep, these guys will just be in a full-on concentration mode right now and trying to just not fall off the track, not make mistakes on those one tires, and try to keep them alive, whereas Gronstra and Papan behind will be in full-on pushing mode, just trying to get the best lap times possible and to obviously catch these guys. They were in second and third before the pit stops, but now because of these guys not having pitted, they will have to catch up to them and re-pass them to get those positions back, which of course is very interesting. Let's compare some lap times. Kaki on the previous lap on his more one tires, 1:37.4.
Gronstra is the 36.0
flat, so it was a second and a half faster. Papan 0.8 faster, so Gronstra was actually quite a bit faster than Papan as well in that previous lap. Martin van der Bent had a really slow lap. He's dropped off the back of Klawitsky, who was very close with before. So Martin van der Bent maybe starting to struggle with the tire, so maybe just had a mistake and related to it, but visibly see that the gap to Gronstra is really closing. Then Kanuma seems to be pulling out a bit of a gap on Clausen's as well now. Jellyfish dropping off them. Andrex and Macy still running very close together, so both of them have pitted now. Andrex ahead of his teammate on lap 1, Freda, Centro, and Rhaegor is very close to Kardai Sidiaki. That is a battle for position actually, 14th position. That is for a couple of points. Let's see if... can't remember, York, if you know who these guys were ahead of each other before, but at the moment it's Rhaegor ahead and Hideaki hoping for a move.
Yeah, Rhaegor was ahead of Hideaki previously. Seems that Rhaegor's slowly slipping backwards down the field. Not entirely sure what his troubles are so far this race. Possibly just the car setup not quite working for him. Blue Rat, like I say, running in 16th. Centro doing pretty good in 13th, although it runs a little bit deep there and straddles the curb on the exit of turn 8, but manages to get away with that quick puff of tyre smoke. But it certainly seems like Hideaki is closing up onto the back of Rhaegor and looking pretty feisty to try and get past as quickly as possible. Possibly, no, not quite a move around the outside. Looked like he was lining it up there with the camera angle, but Rhaegar actually running out a little bit wide to allow Hideaki to get up a little bit closer coming into the penultimate corner. If he could get a decent run through here and out the final turn and get down on the power hard enough, keep that traction, he should have a pretty good run down towards turn 1, but is obviously nowhere near close enough to try and make a move there. It will be about turn 2, turn 3, turn 4, onto the back straight, and then into the hairpin of turn 6, because that very long left-hander on that back straight is known as turn 5.
Interesting. I hate when I name tiny flat-out kings on straight corners, but just have to accept that one. Speaking of closing up, though, we have a potential... Well, we have a teammate battle on our hands. Andrex and Maisie. Maisie's close up to Andrex now. The last lap or so. And, well, you know, I'm sure there's a bit of teammate pride on the cards there. I'm going to quickly check who's ahead of these guys in the championship. That would be Andrex, who's had a very consistent season as their back market as jellyfish in the background there, just crashing into walls or something, but he's already lapped and out of the points. But yeah, Andrex rating 6th in the championship right now. He's finished in the points in every race so far this season. He's obviously then also finished every race this season, which cannot be said for everyone. Maisie has finished every race this season, but 2 of those occasions he was outside the points on the finish. Andrex is only one of the 2 that has had a podium. He had 2nd place in Sakito, of course. But yeah, Maisie in 7th in the championship as well, so they are very close. Only 6 points between the 2 teammates. Wow. So that's another little interesting battle that will be carrying on, not only throughout this race, but also until the season finale next week as well.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, Andrex has had a very, very consistent season. Could be why he plays slightly better than Maisie, but as always, his qualifying pace isn't really ever there.
Sorry to you, but Grunstra's now caught up to the guys who haven't stopped yet and is trying to go around the outside in the stadium section of Martin van der Bent as Klawutski has crashed out from 3rd place there on the grass. You can see him trying to get the car back on track. So Grunstra's gained 2 positions through the stadium section, one through pulling off an incredible overtake on Martin van der Bent, and the other as a result of Klawutski just crashing by himself. That has of course promoted Papan up to 5th as well. Kanuma up to 6th, and Klawutski's out of the race. Look at that damage. He's just stuck there. Seemingly can't move his car. That is a big shame. From 3rd position in the race, of course, he would have had a struggle to stay ahead of some of the faster guys with the worn tires, but now he's surely going to be out of the race and score no points today. Very big shame for Klawutski. But that's how it goes sometimes. That's a risk you take when you stay out on worn tires. You open yourself up for a bigger chance of making mistakes. And of course, unfortunately, Klawutski has paid the price for that one. So for Grunstra, though, was now up to 3rd again. His focus will be on catching TonyR. It's only about 5 seconds between them. He will be next up the road to get back in the position he was in 2nd.
Yeah, just to confirm, Klawutski has retired from the race, and also actually just popped down back to Maisie and Andrex, and both of these guys are very close together. It's gone from turn 2, turn 3 and 4 now and onto the back straight. Not entirely sure why turn 2 and 3 are separate corners. They're part of that long right-hander essentially. And turn 4 is the little left-hander kink, and then turn 5 is that little long left-hander there down the back straight, but getting very close, under braking into the hairpin. And it looks like Maisie may have had a slightly better run there than Andrex coming out of that. He isn't going to be quite close enough to have a look down the inside into that right-hander kink there and into the next braking zone. They follow each other through for the moment. Both these cars obviously don't have ABS, whereas the other cars do. So you see the wheels under rotating a little bit and locking up in the braking zones as they are turning in places, which is rather cool to see. But obviously they need to be mindful of that when following relatively close to the driver in front, that they don't lock the brakes and crash into the person, especially when they are your teammate. Definitely don't want to be doing that.
Indeed. So we've just seen Papan make the move as well on Martin van der Bent, following what Gronstra did earlier. Not quite running the outside for him. Went up the inside of turn 2. Pretty straightforward move. Was on the better tires. So this is kind of, we're just seeing the strategies converging here, and Gronstra really closing the gap on TonyR as well. He had a 36.7 lap time last time out. That was 2 seconds quicker than what TonyR did. Under a second quicker than what Kaki did though, so Kaki is really hanging on well on those tires at the moment. Not quite sure what the actual gap between them are. Probably about 25 to 30 seconds or so. Definitely pretty massive. So Gronstra might just have to focus on a second really. And just hope that Kaki's tires fall off the cliff somewhere along the line in the last 9 laps out. But let's see. Quickly going through the field. Seems like there's only 2 main battles at the moment, which is the BMW M3s. And Hideyaki's back in the pits actually. Which means the Ycoms and Changes Janetta are in the points again, despite having horrid races. Let's see, Kaki's at the hairpin. And TonyR and Gronstra are out of turn 2. So here we go then, Yoki. Gronstra is about to get a run on TonyR for second.
Yep. Looks like he's well underneath the rear wing of TonyR, picking up that slipstream quite nicely. He must be running a pretty low downforce to be getting a decent run like that. He's going to be trying to send it up the inside. A little bit of door rubbing there between the 2 drivers. But for the moment, Gronstra slipping himself up past TonyR up into second place. Tony being demoted down into third place. But yeah, very interesting strategy from the guys who are doing zero stop. It's actually interesting to compare it to previous seasons where you'd very rarely see your driver go for a zero stopper. There's only a few brave people who decided to do it. Yeah, and then most people do a 1 stop. But ever since we had the 2 times tyre wear earlier on in the season, obviously people were kind of adjusted slightly to running on much less tyre.
Houston, we have a problem!
No?
I do remember, but that's not quite as important as the fact that my game has crashed.
Ah.
So.
That is a very big problem.
We have a fatal source error of some sort, which I have no idea what it means, so we'll just exit that. So, Yorkie, we need you to do some voice commentary for the final 8 laps.
That's going to be pretty tricky when you can't see what's going on. I'm basically just going to have to describe it to you.
Yeah, exactly.
You
need to pretend you're now hosting a radio show, right?
Okay.
And just explain every single detail of what is happening with the cars.
There are cars going around the circuit. There's quite a few spaces between a number of drivers. I'll be a little bit more accurate than that. But at the moment, nothing's really happening. Papan has closed up onto the back of TonyR in the hairpin going down the back straight. That's slightly better traction than Tony coming out of that hairpin and on the run down to turn 7 is fairly close. But Tony is staying relatively defensive for the moment. Papan having a slight look, but isn't going to try and make the lunge to slip up the inside. But Tony's had a pretty poor exit coming out of turn 8, coming into turn 9 and 10. Papan looking the stronger of the 2 cars and had a pretty good run coming out of there. It's going side by side with Tony. He's got the inside. No, not quite. I was going to say he's got the inside for the stadium section. But TonyR just about holding on to that position, third place around the outside as Papan backed out of the move. Papan, for the moment, is going to follow Tony through the rest of the lap, it looks like. But Tony certainly struggling with the tyres. So Papan will probably be passing him relatively soon as he gets a pretty decent exit coming out of the final turn. Papan looking to the inside. TonyR actually squeezing him over a little bit to the right-hand side of the circuit to make it very tight for Papan. Papan does back out, and both drivers move back over to the left to take the usual racing line. But again, Papan with the fresher tyres, still wanting to try and make the move. They follow each other for the moment through turns 2, 3, and then 4, and then onto the back straight. Car length or 2 between Papan and TonyR. They come onto the back straight now. Obviously, Papan will have the slipstream over Tony. And it will be down in the braking zone. Surely Papan will be able to get the move done. He does present himself in the mirrors, but doesn't actually go for the move as TonyR moves over a tiny bit in the braking zone. Actually comes side by side as they come out through the exit. It's pretty much a straight drag race down towards turn 7. Papan does have the inside line at the moment, but Tony gives him a squeeze there on the apex, and Papan backs out of it. Tony holding on to third place just for the moment, getting very, very close to each other under braking. And coming through turn 9 and 10, Papan all over the back of Tony, but not quite able to do anything about it for the moment. Again, Papan having a little bit of look into the stadium section, but thinks better of it as Tony takes his usual line. And again, Papan is going to have to follow Tony through the rest of the stadium section and through the rest of the lap. All the while, Gronstra is disappearing off into the distance. And I'll just take a quick look at the previous lap times between those two drivers. My God, it's a good 2.5 seconds between Gronstra and Kaki in terms of lap time pace. But this time round, Papan's actually got the inside for the first turn. TonyR giving Papan yet again a squeeze on the apex and forcing Papan to tuck back in behind for the moment. Sorry, just to clarify, there isn't a gap of 2 seconds between Gronstra and Kaki. It's Gronstra's taking 2 seconds out of Kaki on the previous lap. But yeah, this main battle at the moment is between Papan and TonyR. They certainly seem to be the closest two. Papan again closing up in the slipstream. TonyR going defensive, coming into the hairpin. Papan trying to send a move around the outside. He may be able to make this stick. Tony giving a bit of a squeeze on the exit there, but both of them are side by side. Once again, a little bit of a drag race coming down towards turn 7. For the moment, it looks like Papan's got the move done and dusted as TonyR slots back in underneath. I don't think Tony's going to have the tyres to be able to send a move back up the inside to retake third place, and Papan does slot himself up into third and takes that, and surely now on the fresher tyres start to pull away fairly rapidly away from Tony, which is exactly what he's doing. It's probably coming up to close to second now already in just a couple of turns. And in the background as well, I can see Kanuma is lurking and closing up on towards the back of Tony. Probably a good 4, maybe 5 seconds between those two drivers who have a drop down to Claessens is in 6th. Martin van der Bent is actually closed up onto the back of Claessens. Currently running in 7th place. That's less than a second between the two as Claessens gets a little bit of a slide there through the penultimate corner and manages to hold on to it. It would have cost him a little bit of time, and the gap has decreased slightly, but not much. And then Maisie has got himself up into 8th place, taking that away from Andrax, who's now in 9th. And Fredo is in 10th, not too close to the M3 drivers. In front of them is probably a couple of seconds each between those 3 drivers. I'll jump back up to the front of the field to report on how Kaki is doing. Kaki's currently going through the hairpin of the stadium section. Claessens has just gone through turn 8, now into turn 9 and 10, and is now on the short straight, running out pretty wide there though, over the curb, and is now swinging it into the stadium section. Kaki has just come out the final corner. That should give you a pretty good idea as to how far apart those two drivers are. Fizzy, you're still there, yes?
I'm here. I'm really enjoying this. You're doing a great job.
Thank you very much.
Not sure I have too much to add given my black screen, but yeah. How many laps to go?
We currently have 4 laps remaining, and Kanuma is closing up onto the back of TonyR pretty rapidly. There's now half a second roughly between the two drivers. Actually look at the lap times on the previous lap as Tony comes over the line. He does a 1:39.1 and Kanuma did a 1:36.8. So a good 2.5 seconds there taken out of Tony. And Kanuma is now closing up in the braking zone into turn 2. And we'll surely have a pretty good exit coming out of here and should have the straight line advantage with the V12 as in the Aston Martin coming down the straight. It's also got the slipstream as well. And we'll probably see those two drivers close up, but they do. TonyR actually moving to the right-hand side of the circuit, allowing Kanuma to go the shorter route, and Kanuma may have the pass already done before they actually get to the corner. Actually, no, TonyR is going to fight back. Kanuma is going to try and perform a little bit of a switchback here on Tony. Tony, for the moment, does have about half a car length ahead of Kanuma, and now Kanuma actually slots in behind Tony before reaching turn 7 as TonyR was starting to squeeze Kanuma over to the right-hand side. Tony can't squeeze Tony. Doesn't really work. And then coming into turn 10, Tony is still holding on to it, but Kanuma's had a pretty good exit. They're now actually side by side. Coming into the stadium section, Kanuma holding on to that inside line. TonyR wanting to squeeze him across, but Kanuma was there and fully up alongside him. There would have been contact between the two if TonyR tried to squeeze Kanuma anymore. And Kanuma does get the move done and dusted as Tony ran out across the curb a little bit there on the exit. Now actually coming through the final turn. Kanuma up into 4th place. TonyR in 5th. Tapan in 3rd. Grunster in 2nd. Kaki still in 1st. And it's basically the length of that back straight between 1st and 2nd. So 3 laps to go. Or should I say 2.5 laps to go. And it certainly seems like at the moment, Kaki looking pretty good for the win here. See if we can try and find some more battles somewhere along the line. Claessens and Martin van der Bent are spread out a little bit. Pretty good 2 to 3 seconds between those two drivers now. Maisie Andrex and Freda are pretty spread out. Centro isn't really near anyone. Ycoms is running in 12th at the moment. I'm running in 13th, even though I'm in the pit, so we've lost a load more drivers.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's only 12 people racing now, which means we've lost Hideaki, we've lost Blue Rat, Dangerous Janetta, Fred is still there, we've lost Silver Arrow, and obviously the other previous retirees as well.
That's a very unfortunate. Just for the record, I've just brought up TonyR's personal stream just in the background. And hopefully it doesn't mind. If you want to go and check out that directly, then you can go to twitch.tv/TonyR600 just for a better view. But of course, then you won't get Yorkie's beautiful radio commentary. In the meantime, for those who have joined late, my game is frozen or crashed or whatever you want to call it, which is why I'm not showing any footage at the moment. But yeah, Yorkie, we only got a couple of laps to go. So keep us updated.
Indeed. 2 laps to go, and Kaki has just come out of the hairpin and is on the run down towards turn 7. And Grunster is just coming into the braking zone for that hairpin now. So the gap is closing, and 2 seconds and 3/10 was taken out of Kaki from Grunster on that previous lap. So although obviously Grunster is setting much, much faster lap times, Kaki is doing a very, very good to manage the tyres and hold on to the first position with his zero stop. Obviously, he's got track position and is now just coming through the stadium section into the penultimate corner now. Runs through that rather nicely, then into the final turn, and he'll begin the very final lap of this race. So 1 lap to go. And providing Kaki stays where he is now and doesn't slip back down into... It was 10th place if Kanuma took the win, wasn't it?
It was indeed, yeah.
Yeah, Kanuma's currently running in...
Can he even finish that low with the amount of drivers left?
No. He can finish lower than 10th. But he
12th, I guess.
He will still pick up the points because Kanuma's currently running in 4th. So, although he would be promoted up into 3rd if Kaki does slip back down, but for the moment, Kaki is still going around the circuit. Just gone into the hairpin. Comes out of that with no real dramas. Grunster still going round. That was quite a cool aerial shot, actually. That helicopter view. See Grunster going along and then Kaki going back the other way. On the other side of the wall. And Kaki is now just coming through turn 10. He's now on the short straight down towards stadium section. Brings the car in now. Again, looking very stable, very easy and cautious into the hairpin. And he'll very soon be approaching the final 2 corners of this Hockenheim race. Here he goes into the second to last turn now. And then into the final turn. Coming out the exit of that, no drummers, no spins this time, and Kaki is going to come across the start-finish line to not only win the race here at Hockenheim, but also become champion of AOR PC Elite League for Season 5. Perry Gronstrup now crossing over the line to take a very good second place. Papan just coming through the final turn now. And we'll be coming across the line very, very shortly. There he goes. He comes home in third place. Kanuma picking up fourth as he runs quite wide out the final turn there. A little bit of a flash of the lights from him as he comes across the line. And then TonyR will be coming up in fifth. He's dropped back quite far from Kanuma, but does secure that fifth place. Claessen's flashing his lights as well as he comes across to take sixth. Martin van der Bent. Pretty solid result for him coming home in seventh place as he just comes out the final turn now and comes across the start-finish line. A nice little wiggle from him. Also getting very, very sideways there. But the AI driver saving it. And Maisie... sorry, that was Ycoms. Maisie's also gone and lost the car going over the line to take 8th place. There was a car fairly close behind, but it was Ycoms who was a lap down. Andrex's teammate will come home in 9th place. And then Freda will come home in 10th. Centro is the next driver to cross the line in 11th, and then Ycoms bringing up 12th place. And myself in 13th. I got a points position, and I didn't do the race.
Yoki scores points! Unbelievable scenes. Yeah, obviously, I would assume that some other drivers had the freeze issue as well, possibly, because you obviously dropped quite a few just after I went out as well. Luckily, though, it doesn't seem to have affected any of the top drivers in the race. Kaki, Gronstrup, Papan, Kanuma, TonyR, Claessen's all still going, Martin van der Bent as well. I'm pretty sure everyone who was in the top 9 at least before that are still there. Unless I'm mistaken. And of course, very well done to Kaki on the championship. It's a shame we couldn't get the the live footage of him crossing the line, but of course there's still a race to go in the season where we'll get even more racing action with Kaki, kind of his honorary race then, I guess, next time at Sonoma. Of course, we will have to get the new champion in there for an interview.
No, we don't.
Oh, yes, we do.
We've had him on so much in the driver interviews.
We have,
that on the one he goes and wins the championship. We should
this can't be happening
him
anymore. Tired of Kaki now. Let's have someone else. Now, let's get Kaki in.
Yep.
Right now, some Polish person has climbed up the ladder into the commentary box, and that is the new champion for Season 5, Kaki!
Am I the winner? Yay!
You are the winner! Well done, man.
Congratulations!
Thank you, guys.
It's been a long time coming, but how does it feel?
I'm not the winner yet. There's one round left, so I can get this penalty or maybe disqualified from the championship.
From the championship, yeah. Do you feel like you have done something to warrant a disqualification from the championship?
I will see. Maybe I'll cut the track like crazy in the last round, or maybe I'll kill everybody.
Sure,
I'll get,
you know,
penalty.
You never know. But how was the race for you then? Obviously, yeah, you were leading pretty much all the way through, I think, and
it was winning the end, so. It was very, very solid, and it was great because I had a great pace through all laps. The qualification was absolutely crazy. I won with Pepin by about it was 1,000 of a second. Yeah, that's
that was crazy. That
is insane. The race was great because I didn't make any mistake, and my pace was really good. Gross was pressuring really, really hard through the first half of the race, but then he beat it, so I could breathe a little bit more. My tires are really good, so I managed to make all the laps and keep the gap to about 15 seconds to the end. And that's it, what can I say? But it's such a shame that so many people got a black screen. And you physically got disconnected too.
Even I got the black screen on the game freeze issue, so unfortunately the last 10 laps we didn't have any picture apart from kind of streaming TonyR stream.
Seriously? Oh my god. That is crazy.
But yeah, that's just what happens sometimes, obviously. Yeah, I wish we had F1 Marseille in here. Obviously he was the reigning champion 3 times in a row, not anymore though. It would be nice to have him in there to kind of give you the title, but you are now going to be the reigning champion for at least another season.
We'll see in the season 6, maybe he'll come.
Yeah.
Try to beat me, maybe.
Yeah, is that a challenge?
He should.
Is that a challenge?
I think he should. I think you had it a little bit easy this season, considering there was no F1 Massa, where he couldn't defend his title. But there was a good challenge put up by Gronstra and Kanuma, and I think if Gronstra had a slightly better start, he would have been a little bit closer for the title fight as well.
Yeah, he messed up some of the first races. Yeah. Today was funny because McLaren was so weak on this race. Z4 even was catching me on this race. Oh my god.
Yeah, I think Gronstra may have been running a low downforce setup.
Yeah, I was running low downforce too.
Maybe he was running even lower downforce.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Just unusual to see a BMW Z4 catching like that on this race.
Yeah, but the race with Gronstra was absolutely perfect, great. He was pressing me so much. He was really fast through the first half of the race.
Really?
And he made a best lap of the race.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, obviously,
what can
with
I say?
the fresh tires.
So, I'm the champion, right?
You are the champion, yep,
Yes,
it's confirmed, it's confirmed. Unless, as you say, you get disqualified from the championship from deliberately taking out every driver in the final round.
Yeah, I plan to.
Of course, yeah. That's usually how you celebrate championships. Yeah, what more can we say? Sonoma, last race, looking forward to it. Just celebrate the title.
Yay! What's the last round?
Sonoma, yes.
Sonoma, okay. It'll be fun. What's the weather for this?
Just clear and a bit
Hazy.
hazy, I think.
Today,
hot.
the
It's always hazy. At
second slot for the weather today was random, but again we got nothing. It was just a cloudy weather.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
I was hoping for some thunderstorm or maybe tsunami or earthquake, but nothing happened.
I'm sure everyone was hoping for that. Maybe apart from some of the drivers, but yeah. Well, the race happened anyway. Race of 2 hours for you, with all the battling with Gronstra in the first half and then managing the tires in the second half. And you seem to have become a good, very, very good driver at both of those things. And a very well-deserved championship in the end, I have to say.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much.
I was going to quickly ask you, was it your plan to do a zero stop all the way through that race?
Yes, yes, it was my plan. Actually, people was pretty surprised with my zero stop because some of the guys, Papand and other ones, were testing zero stop yesterday in the social race, and it didn't work for them. So they were pretty surprised that it worked for me.
Okay.
I was saving
Interesting.
tires, I think.
Alright,
Yeah, very good. Well done.
I think that's
Congratulations, mate.
Yeah, again,
Season 5
massive
champion.
congrats.
Thank you guys.
You'll see for one final time this season next week at Sonoma.
Yeah.
Or hopefully another good race. Alright, man. See you then.
No more interviews. No more post-race interviews. We're done with you now.
We're tired of you now, Kaki. Man.
No more to do. Okay, thank you guys so much.
Alright, see you, man. Well
Thanks,
done.
Kaki.
See you guys.
Bye.
Well-deserved champion right there. We haven't got too much options for the last 2 drivers to interview because quite a few people, obviously, quite a few disconnected during the race, and not too many people left. We have Kanuma and Rex Pronsky, who disconnected quite early on. Maisie, Papandreou, and Ycoms to choose from. So what do we do?
Ah, damn. I was going to ask TonyR and make you confess what you had been doing in those last 8 laps. That, and also I actually wanted to get his opinion on the race as well.
Would be
Obviously, zero strop with people coming past him at the end.
Yeah.
Hey guys.
We can do.
Oh, okay, no Klaus is here.
Ah, Clausen's here. Yes.
Yeah, I'm here, man. Yeah, I saw you were going to do some interviews, so
Yeah.
I thought I might join in and hope I get selected. So
And we even
Yeah,
selected before
well,
you were.
here you are.
yeah, man.
What happened in the stadium section? We unfortunately saw the latter part of your spin into the wall.
I didn't spin into the wall, man.
That was Klawitsky who spun.
No, I
Never
had a
mind.
pretty clean race, but you know I did the social yesterday and my tires were getting really messed up, so I thought today I will do a pit stop pretty early. But yeah, I just couldn't catch up to Papant and those guys anymore.
Yeah. Because
I don't know.
Ah, yes. Apologies. You finished in sixth
Sixth.
ahead of Martin van der Ven, didn't you? Yes.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
had to
my
pace
bad.
over
Again,
Tony
you-
as well, but there was just not enough time to catch back up to him. So it's a shame, but I don't think I could have pulled off a zero stopper because I had so much tire wear.
Yeah, that's always. It seemed to be like a kind of a race of the two strategies and who could make it work and who tried to catch up at the end. Yeah, we actually thought. We heard some rumors, I blame Brownski on that one, that you had spun it in the early part of the race, but you actually had just done the early pit stop, which confused us a little bit, but in the end.
No, I didn't spin it, but it wasn't a perfectly clean race, but it was alright, you know. But yeah, I'm not that happy.
Well, sixth still isn't that bad a result, but you've had better, of course, this season.
yeah, man.
We also got one more race to go at Sonoma. How do you feel about that circuit?
Yeah, it's a
Enjoy.
pretty difficult track, but I think it suits the BMW pretty well. It's you know the car's pretty much underpowered, but it's pretty good in handling. So we'll have to see what happens there. But I feel pretty confident about that track. So we'll
Good.
see what happens. Yeah.
Yeah, both me and Fizzy can testify that the Z4 is good around that circuit.
Yeah, that's my best track in the GT leagues that I've done. Both of the seasons we had Sonoma in the had I raced. I actually had my season best results around there in the Z4 obviously.
Yep.
Should be
Yeah,
good.
we'll definitely we'll be doing a lot of practice there and get it perfect. So we'll try to perform really well there.
Yeah.
Excellent.
That's good to hear. And well, yeah, hopefully he'll be up there towards the front in that race and have another good one.
Yeah, man. Well, thanks for the interview. See you next week.
Yep. See you then.
Not a problem.
Okay,
Yes.
bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, I've been told in the chat that we should interview Maisie because apparently this is his final race. I guess for some
What?
reason he's missing Sonoma. That is what Bransky said anyway. So let's get
Okay.
in there.
Oh, I was moved.
You were
Yes, you
included
have.
into the commentary box, Maisie.
Oh, hello, guys.
We've heard some rumors that that was your final race in the league.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah, next Wednesday I'm going to holiday, and yeah, I decided to pull off the project cars, and because it takes too much time of myself, and I don't have time to practice anymore, and with the competition which is here, it's just too crazy.
Yeah.
To practice that much, but yeah, I think I
can
did.
relate.
Yeah, I think I did quite well, to be honest, with lack of practice with the M3 as well, so good season overall, I would guess.
Yeah, certainly. Both you and Adrex have done pretty well. I think. Did Adrex just about finish in front of you in this race?
No, he was behind.
Yeah, you
3
passed him, yeah.
seconds.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he let me by as I was a little bit faster there, and then he spun, I think, so he lost 2 seconds. But yeah, he held from Frede, I think,
Yep.
it was at 4. So, yeah.
And you know, that is interesting because that means you've closed in 3 points on Andrex. But unfortunately, so
Yeah,
it
it
was a 6-point gap. I thought it was. I thought we were
Yeah.
closer than that. No, okay, so unfortunately, since you're missing the final race, you won't have a chance to win the teammate battle. But it was very close, as long
Yeah,
as
it
you were
was.
both in the races.
Yeah, I think the downside was the Sakito race, when Andrex went second, and I
definitely.
was like 13, 14, and then Brno, but we both sucked, I think, so.
Yeah, well, Andrex actually finished in the points in all the races, and actually, I think in terms of you as a team, you're the only team that have finished all the races so far this season, which is why it's an extra shame that I guess that you won't be there in the final.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah,
very,
I-
very solid season so far.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so. The car that we had, it's quite nice to drive if you set up in the way you like to drive a car. So yeah, but it's a little bit slow on the straights. But overall, yeah, very good handling car. And I like the cars which has the turn-in and some high-speed grip over the raw power like the Mercedes has and stuff. Bentleys, like the big boats. So yeah, M3 good car, even without ABS, I think. If you learn how to drive, how to brake, obviously.
Yeah. Well, Maisie, you're obviously one of the major veterans in this league.
Yeah.
Been here all the way since season 1, and with this then being your final race after all that time. The final question, I guess, is how have you found like your 5th season in the GT3 league to have been?
To be honest, I think we started, when was it, last year?
It's over here.
Yeah, over here, when the project cars came out. So yeah, I jumped into AOR again, and I saw project cars GT3 league. So I said, yeah, why not? You just compare. And I had no knowledge about setups then. I did some time trials in the roof. I was promoted straight to elites. I remember Brown's the man to beat there.
Yeah.
And Onich, I think, was there. You were there also, very high in the tables.
Yeah, I remember one of the races. I think it was at Watkins Glen.
Yeah, Watkins Glen was first.
Yeah, when you nearly caught me at the end of the race.
Yeah, because I was then I put fuel, so I refueled the car. I think I would have you, but yeah, then I lost like seconds in the pits. Yeah, but I think you finished on third podium.
I think so, yeah.
And I was 4th.
Yeah.
So that was like a good direction that he can have something in the league. And then yeah, I stick with the roof in season 2 as well. And of course the first race with Brownski at Hockenheim, that was just awesome race. And Kaki was there, I think his first race. And well done to his second championship, or first, sorry.
Yeah.
Is it first?
Yeah, first. Yeah. No.
Yeah. Yeah, he was, for me, he was the fastest man. Even if Massa was here, he was like my #1 fastest guy over 1 lap. But yeah, his consistency wasn't as great as Massa's. But this season he just dominated the whole season. And if he doesn't have any problems with disconnections and stuff, yeah, he's very, very good and consistent driver. So very, very well done to him. And it was clear then in the season 2 that he's the guy to look.
Yeah.
You know. And then the first win came at Road America. And I think it was the first race for Yorkie as well, if I'm correct. Yeah.
Yorkie,
when was that?
And also
Road
I think
America.
Massa. Yeah,
America
Road
season
America
2.
season 2 in the night. First night race. And I won thanks to no stopping the car. So that was lucky. Yeah.
Oh,
And
Yes,
then it
so I
was
remember
just
going from 16th place up into 6th in the first 4 or 5 laps, I think it was. And I was on for a podium, but then I threw it away doing a pit stop, and I lost track position. I think I came 7th or 8th, something like that in the end. But yeah, that was my first race as well. As well as Massa's.
Yeah. And it was just the highlight of all experience on project cars here. So at least some win. I think my first ever win in AOR in total.
Yeah.
So at least
Not
something.
easy to get. It's not easy to get.
Yeah, not easy, not easy. And then all the fast guys came, so I was just doomed. So I said, let's try some different cars. So I picked the Audi with Brownski. It was a good season, but we struggled a lot with the braking and stuff. But actually Brownski won one race in the Audi, so that was good as well. But I think it was the luckiest race ever for him in the Brands Hatch when the mass disconnection happened.
Oh yeah.
So he didn't pit and he won because everybody disconnected. And then I think I picked the Ginetta for season 4, which was, the slowest car in the world. And I think I proved it wrong, as well as with the M3 this
Didn't do too
season.
bad.
So all cars has a shot.
That's very true.
So, yeah. But yeah, I think my favorite car was the roof.
Yeah, makes sense. But Maisie, it's been pleasure having you in the league. It's a shame you won't be driving in this league anymore. Of course, you'll also be driving on AOR, which is good. But yeah, I guess all we can really do is just thank you for all the racing, and hopefully
Yeah.
we'll see.
Maybe
You again.
see you in Project Cars too.
Yeah, of course.
Okay,
Oh, you
thanks. Yeah, thanks guys. Very well done with the streams and stuff. It's better than F1s sometimes. If the F1s just suck.
Just fired.
Thank you very much,
Alright.
Marcy.
Yeah, thanks, man.
It's kind of
Yeah,
nice.
thank you.
Yeah,
Goodbye, guys.
Enjoy your holiday next week.
Thanks.
And hopefully we'll catch you again sometime soon.
Yeah.
See you, Maisie.
Okay, see you. Good night, guys.
Good night.
Thank you. Bye.
So then, 1 round left in the season. We hope you'll join us next week, same time, 8 PM UK time on Wednesday night for Sonoma. Round 12 out of 12 in the AOR PC GT3 Elite League on Project Cars. So guys, until then, we love you and we'll see you next week. Goodbye.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.